Welcome back to the Modern Retail Experience, the series that delves into the latest trends, market changes, and technological advancements that are shaping the world of retail. In today's episode, we explore the smartest ways to optimize your product assortment, uncovering how data-driven insights, seamless supplier collaboration, and cutting-edge AI tools can help showcase the right products at the right place at the right time. So join us as we explore all that the modern retail experience has to offer and discover how retailers are using technology to stay ahead of the curve.
It's really interesting to think about how retailers are leveraging AI and automation to streamline assortment planning. I think that for a lot of retailers, or at least traditional retailers, using AI in assortment planning is a little bit more of a new concept. So the idea of, using algorithms ingest data around what shoppers are buying, or analyzing industry trends, or even looking at some of the behavior of the shoppers in the store to understand what they're looking at and what they're finding interesting.
There are a couple ways that retailers are trying to streamline this, specifically with AI, and it is really about the unified commerce. And it comes down to really understanding how the front end of the store, this is basic terms, but how the front end of the store is really using data and information from the back end to inform in the overall performance of the store and how it is raising the level of store performance. I was looking at the Manhattan Associates Unified Commerce Benchmark, and it was saying a couple really interesting things, but one that really stuck out in particular was that it was only about 5% of retailers that have achieved this maturity of unified commerce, that really are effectively using AI when it comes to their supply chain, when it comes to inventory management, when it comes to managing that back end data and then informing that in the front of house. Number one, it is most important that leadership understands how this all works, how the sausage is made, and then really understanding and getting themselves up to speed with AI.
Data is increasingly common and yet increasingly hard to interpret because there's just so much of it at this point. And this is another area where I think not just what the trends seem to be, but what's actually selling in the stores or online, and where that seems to be going is an area where focusing on your contract, pricing, and things like that are going to allow you to make real-time and quick decisions, whether that's pulling ahead, whether that's making changes in your supply base or your contracts, whether that's collaborating in real time about, developments and what products you want to bring to market or what products you want to bring into certain stores or certain segments. Really speeding up any kind of onboarding of new suppliers or new products and pricing of that is a really interesting way that we're seeing being able to use that analytics in real time to achieve value.
We're starting to look at more cross-channel planning, and that includes your global view of inventory and sales, which again is key. Take a look at the full picture and what's available to you. Those channels across direct-to-consumer, wholesale, e-com, and store are being factored into that overall cross-channel planning. In the area of digital twin, much more robust what-if scenarios, specifically around inventory and sales, also looking at things like price elasticity, conversion, and lost sales space, and floor planning analysis. Other solutions that tie back in on digital twin for space and floor also include things like shelf profitability and sales per square foot. And then we're starting to see drill-throughs into transactional systems to actually affect change based on the recommendations from the dashboard.
This is definitely something that has been happening more and more, that collaboration between retailers and suppliers over the past several years. It's really being enabled, we have global supply chains, not everybody's in the same place, and so it's really being enabled by better technology. I'm also seeing integrated planning. Okay, so a more collaborative planning process as opposed to, maybe somebody sitting in New York and then kind of handing a plan to a factory. It's, more like sales and operations planning kind of happening all together, with that plan, and then the increased transparency and communication, common performance metrics. They're working from the same set of metrics and KPIs so that they're all working towards a common goal.
So when it comes to retailers and suppliers working together, first and foremost, we're seeing it in the news all the time. It's this dance that is going on with this whiplash of tariffs. And I think that relationship between retailers and suppliers, it's always been there and it's always been kind of in the background and people have known about it, especially people in our industry, but now it's really becoming the forefront. And in that sense, consumers and everyone is realizing how important that conversation is between retailers and their suppliers, aka their vendors, how things are priced out, how inventory is being managed, and really when something seismic happens globally or even nationally here in the United States with these tariffs being implemented, not being implemented, one thing that retailers can do is make sure that they have software, right, to automate this process, how they can work with each other in a seamless way to make sure that unified commerce continues.
When we think about testing new products or categories and using technology to be smarter and more efficient at that task, I think a great example retailer for that is Amazon. They're constantly using data to decide what products to turn up in search results. More than 90% of shoppers that go to Amazon arrive on product pages by searching. And Amazon uses a lot of different AI and technology in their search algorithm. More specifically, recently they've launched an update to search called Cosmo, which is truly sort of contextual search and allowing them to do some experimentation in matching sort of product queries to products via scanning images, via looking at information, maybe off-site on the brand's direct-to-consumer site, scanning the product page, looking at the reviews. But on the back end, they're using all kinds of other data to rationalize that assortment that they're showing to the shopper. They're looking at price, they're looking at their own profitability on those items. There are hundreds of factors that are going into that search relevance algorithm.
So again, looking ahead at 2025 and beyond, the technology trends and process trends and people aligning around the purchasing a product is still about the right product in the right place at the right time. If you're building a national brand or purchasing a national brand or building a private label, again, test quickly, right? And then fail, exit, or expand, optimize quickly. On the technology side, you want to see, and what I'm seeing today is a tighter connection of solutions. So traditionally, when you've seen assortment planning, it used to run fairly autonomously with the data inputs coming in from downstream and upstream systems or data out of data lake. But now what I'm seeing is far more connectivity related to solutions within planning, right? So fully integrated merchandise financial planning, open to buy management planning, demand, category management, replenishment. There's much more focus on your sales and inventory dashboards, as I mentioned earlier, with drive-throughs on alerts and chatbots, and giving feedback real time on the assortment and then next actions overall.
Two things to look out for. So I wouldn't necessarily call this a trend, but how retailers work with their technology vendors, will really dictate kind of the future here and kind of how well you can execute. So where I see really, really strong execution is understanding that there's planning and merchandising is an art and a science, but for that science, having a very, technology first mindset across the organization, not just in IT, it needs to be across the whole organization, and really partnering, with your technology vendors on the best fit technology for your organization, managing that change management across the organization as well, and getting next generation technology and innovation in to meet the needs of your business.
To learn more about the Retail Cloud Alliance, don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel so you're first in line to watch the latest episode.